There's a moment in these books where love feels dangerous. It's quiet, it's inevitable, like it's always going to cost something. The space Alice Hoffman writes in is that weird space where love can feel dangerous. Nothing explosive, nothing cinematic, by the way. More like the kind of thing you already know is going to hurt you, but you walk towards it headfirst anyway. And I don't think people really understand these books until you realise something. They're not about witches. Not really, they're about relationships, messy ones, inherited ones, siblings, lovers, family, people you hate, community. The kind of relationships that shape you before you even were shaped. Take the Owens family as a whole. Everything starts with Maria. Magic lessons. We're doing the books in reading order, by the way. And what she passes down isn't just magic, it's fear, it's grief. It's that quiet, lingering belief that loving someone will hurt you or end badly. And what's interesting about Maria isn't what happens to her, it's what she learns from it. Because her relationship with love isn't naive, it's not idealistic. It's shaped by betrayal, by survival, by a world that doesn't really have space for women like her. Unless they pretend to be something they're not or make themselves smaller. And she doesn't, but there's a cost to that. And there's always a cost to that in these books. And then there's the curse. It's not some grandiose magical punishment. It's not some big thing with flashing lights and Sabrina Spellman. It's trauma that never gets resolved. Like someone that was never given space to heal, so they keep moving forward through generations. And then, by the time you get to the rules of magic, the inherited weight starts to show up in smaller, more human ways. Franny, Jet, Vincent. What I love about them is they don't feel like symbols. They don't feel like archetypal characters. They feel like people you could know or have known at some point in your life. Franny is the sense of control. Like, if she understands the rules well enough, she can avoid the consequences. Jet feels softer, more open, like she wants to believe love is still worth it. And Vincent, well, he's chaos. Not in a fun way. In that way that you can tell someone is trying to outrun something inside themselves. It just keeps catching up. And their relationship with each other feels fragile. Not broken, not toxic, just fragile, like one wrong choice, one moment of distance, and everything could change. There's sadness in watching them grow up, because you already know where some of them land. You know where their lives take them. You already know the shape of the family they become. And there's something about seeing people before they carry that weight fully that makes every decision feel very, very heavy. Then you move into practical magic. And this is where relationships become intimate in a different way. Less about discovery and more about survival. Sally, Gillian. I think it's one of the most honest things Hoffman does is refuse to make their relationship perfect. They love each other, they're sisters. That's never the question, but they don't always understand each other. That's the gap, the space between love and understanding. And there's tension in those lives. Sally wants safety. Not for herself, but for her children. There's this quiet, best way to put it, she wants to build something stable, something untouched by everything that came before. Gillian feels the opposite. Not because she doesn't care, but because she moves towards feelings instead of away from them, even when it's dangerous, especially when it's dangerous. I think we all know someone like that. And that creates this push and pull between them that feels incredibly real. I know these women. They're my mother. They're my friends. They're my family, my grandmother, my aunt, my cousins. And it's not about being right or wrong. It's about different way of coping. Humans deal with everything differently. You can feel the history in their relationship, not just what happens in the book, but everything that must have happened before it. Every argument that never got resolved, every moment where one of them needed something the other couldn't give. And then there's love, romantic love. And Hoffman doesn't treat it like a reward, she treats it like a risk. People fall in love in these books knowing on some level it might end badly, and they do it anyway. And it's not about being foolish or stupid, but because choosing not to love doesn't actually protect you, it just isolates you. And that's one of those truths that running through all of this. Avoiding pain doesn't mean avoiding less. It just means experiencing it differently. By the time you reach the Book of Magic, everything feels layered. And the Book of Magic is what Practical Magic 2 is based on. And it's not complicated for the sake of it, it's just lived in. You're seeing multiple generations at once. You're seeing how decisions echo. How even when people try to change things to do it better, to love differently, they're still working with what they were given. And those relationships become something else entirely, no longer just personal, they're historic. You're watching people carry things they would never fully theirs to begin with, trying to reshape it, trying to understand it. The daughters, for example. But trying in some cases to finally let them go. And not everyone succeeds, and that's important. Because if it would be easy to write a version of that story where everything resolved neatly, where the curse is broken and everything's fine, but that's not what Hoffman does. She gives you something quiet, something a little more honest. She gives you the sense that healing isn't a single moment, it's a process. And sometimes it doesn't look like a big dramatic thing where you see in movies. Sometimes it just looks like making a different decision. Choosing differently, even if it hurts, even if it's hard. Actually, especially if it hurts. And I think that's why her writing works the way it does. It's not trying to overwhelm you, it's not trying to impress you. It's doing something much more difficult. It's asking you to pay attention to small moments, to things that aren't explained outright, to emotions that just sit under the surface. There's a confidence in that kind of writing, kind of restraint that says, I don't need to tell you how I feel, you'll get there. And you do, sometimes later, sometimes long after you finish the book. And yeah, like when I first talked about my reaction to the film trailer, I got the books tangled a little. I got the names wrong. Because in my head, they're not individual books, they're one story. I just know it as Practical Magic in my brain, and it's locked in that way. But also, the order that you read these in doesn't necessarily matter. But I think, because each story is reasonably self-contained, but once you're inside those stories, they don't feel linear, they feel like memory. Like something you remembered out of sequence, but understanding. And maybe that's why they stay with people, not because they're perfect, but because they just feel true in ways that's hard to explain. Not loud, not bigger, just closer. If you guys enjoyed this episode, remember to leave a comment, like this video, share this video, do whatever you want with it. And if you want to get involved in the conversation and have a deeper access to like the podcast and all of this stuff, and we can go deep in that stuff, do check out Patreon, Substack, and memberships. Channel memberships are really cool, like I said, early access and all of that. But, you know, maybe there's a little magic in all of us, right?